Hi there, welcome to Bourbon Turntable. This is the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. Tonight we have part 2 of our episode with the Cold Stares. We have Chris Tapp, Bryce Clee, and Brian Mullins. All three of them are with us. We'll be talking a lot about their new album, The Southern Part 2. It is absolutely fantastic. I think it's some of their finest work. And we'll spend a lot of this episode doing a deep dive into that. So if you enjoyed part 1, I know you'll enjoy part 2. Before we get to that, though, I want to tell you about the Bar Cart Co-op. Bar Cart Co-op is a collection of friends who produce content for the whiskey enthusiast. Shows like Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson. Alan also has One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. And if you have ghosts, you have everything. Pat, Mike, Mitch, every Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. My Whiskey Den. Be sure to check those guys out. They're always a lot of fun. And then last but certainly not least is Whiskey in My Wedding Ring with David Levine. David does a great job with interviews with distillers. He does a great job with his blog as well, where he will do reviews of whiskeys. Be sure to check all of that out. These are good folks and good friends. As for our show, subscribe to us if you're watching us on YouTube, please. We would love that. Leave a comment, leave a like, share, anything. We really appreciate your attention. You can also listen to us on your favorite podcast platform, as long as it's Apple, Spotify, or Google. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our show. We have a Facebook group where we post things that are happening in the music and whiskey world. You can post things as well. We'd love to hear from you there too. So, without further ado, here is part 2 of my conversation with the Cold Stares. Bryce, how about you? Who did first of all, did you start out playing the bass, or did you start with a 6-string and switch over?
Well, yeah, I didn't really start playing music until I was 20.
Oh wow!
So I got kind of a late start, but it was kind of both. My brother was the biggest influence on me for music, and he had a bunch of guitars, and he ended up joining the Air Force and took off for that. And so he gave me all his guitars, and so I was just listening. Really, Pink Floyd is what got me wanting to play the guitar.
Okay.
And so I learned some bass parts for it. Then I learned some guitar parts for it, and then I joined a band. Well, it wasn't really a band. It was just 5 of my buddies played guitar.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to play bass, so finally, out of frustration, I was like, "Fine, I'll play it." And I picked it up, and I actually loved it. It was like instantly clicked for me, and then I started diving deeper into that, and so I just went full on bass. So yeah. I don't like to claim that I was a failed guitarist, but I guess it's in my history, so I guess I have to take it to a degree. But yeah,
it's a fortuitous change, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So the next album it's already underway. Recorded that down in Austin, and so I've pulled you some samples.
Yeah.
Distillery down in Austin called Still Austin, and this is a bourbon they call the Musician. So
it must be very 98. Salty.
Yeah.
Is that why I'm sitting this one out?
It's a little salty and a little bitter, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. Woo. That one's got a little boom boom on it.
Yeah.
That one is 98 proof.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
That's nothing. I don't know. I don't really drink, so
yeah.
This is all going to be
it's kind
interesting here in the next 15 minutes.
Put something like that in a sippy cup, you're all right.
Yeah.
But you already, I think last time I saw you guys was in Newburgh, I guess 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, something like that. And I think you played a couple of songs live that are slated, or at least that you recorded in those Austin sessions. Queen of Hearts and Possession, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
We have a habit of, with so much material, we get excited about something new and want to get out. And
Yeah.
I loved playing them before we record them. This one we didn't get to play many of them before we recorded them, but I like to get them out and get going. And the fans have always been cool with us as long as we hit the ones that they want to hear. The fans have always been cool with us playing new stuff. So I like to get out.
Yeah.
And that's probably why we're on to the next record so quick too, is because by the time this record comes out, by the time the next one, the Austin record, starts coming out, maybe September, November, we've probably been playing it out on the road for 3 or 4 months, at least some of it. So
yeah. I mean the frequency that you're releasing albums now is pretty strong, and I guess in the modern way that music is distributed, you've got to have, once the new album is out, it's time to start releasing singles for the next one, practically, right?
Yeah, literally. It's just the way it is now. It's twofold. You get forgotten pretty easily on Spotify, on the streaming services, if you don't keep something coming. But also, it's a lot easier to record these days than it was 20 years ago. Eagles, some of those bands spent a year on a record. We're more like the bands of the 50s and the 60s. We book a day or two of studio time. We booked 2 days of studio time for this record in Austin, and we knocked it out in 1 day.
Wow.
But we're prepared when we go in. But we're just, I think we have a blue collar work ethic on that stuff, and I think the goal is to get at least 2 records out every year, maybe 2 records and some live stuff. But we also are at a point now where we can kind of smell a little bit. We're sitting at a little bit better table than we were 5 or 6 years ago, and we want to keep moving towards the nicer seats in the restaurant. So we're working hard towards that.
Yeah. Well, at one, I think the frequency of new music helps, but it's the frequency of really good music.
Thanks.
It's not like, well, we've got to get something out there, and here's a clunker, because that's a sure way to lose people.
Well, and I think for our legacy, when we hang it up, I think that's always been in my mind the thing, that the legacy we want to leave is we put out a lot of material, but there's a lot of good material, and that's the thing that I'm blessed with is being able to write songs like that and enjoying writing songs like that. So that's the easy part. It's the touring and the travel and the rehearsals, and that's the work. So it's like, the part that comes the easiest should be the part that you work the most at, Yeah.
So the new album, Southern Part 2, will be out June 6th. I'll post links and everything to how to order it and pre-order vinyl and all that good stuff. But from a standpoint of doing a part 2, Brian, why was that important to you personally, and how do you think that it really is something that benefits the band?
Well, to be honest, just follow Chris's lead on that. He writes the songs, so if he wants to do a part 2, a part 3, or part 7, that's what we're gonna do. So that's the way he envisioned it. He likes to see the final product, how it all goes together. How do the songs make sense together? Even down to where we're going to record them. Does Austin fit the vibe of these tunes? So I just want to be a support system for that, not get in the way. Blessed to have someone that can write that many songs and keep turning them out. So best thing I can do is show up with a smile on my face, be prepared, and provide some quality drum tracks, you know.
Well, and one thing behind the scenes, just to get a little bit juicy, when we went in and recorded the Southern Part 1, we did that for Mascot Records.
Mm-hmm.
And we went and recorded a few songs, and then we came back and finished some songs. And then when we came back, I didn't write more songs from the viewpoint that, hey, we don't have a good record, I need to write some more songs. I just follow the muse sometimes, and I had a bunch of new songs. I was like, we should go back and, while we're hot, go ahead and cut these other songs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we did that, we gave almost all of these songs to Mascot.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had a record deal with them, and they were paying for the record, so they had their choice of the 10 songs that they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't necessarily agree with those choices for the Southern Part 1. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I love the Southern Part 1,
Yeah.
But there were songs on this record that we thought, if I was at a record company, I certainly would have picked over some of the choices they made. So I think we had a little bit of chip on our shoulder to to get this record out and to say, these songs were recorded with the same gear. They were in the same studio. They were engineered by Scott McKeon.
Mm-hmm.
They were mixed by Mark Needham. It's all the same thing. We had the same lunch the days that we were making them. So
Right.
They belong together, but I feel like that this record is a stronger record than there's moments of one that I love, but
Yeah.
I really like some moments on this
Yeah.
record.
Yeah. So you may have recorded Coming Home the same time you recorded, and then recorded Ransom next or something, right? So it wasn't,
Right.
it was not a sequential thing of, well, we recorded all of Part 1 and then
Exactly.
we recorded all of Part 2.
Yeah, exactly. They were all put in together. And my thought, we're always, man, it's tough being in a band, and it's tough making a living doing this. We're always thinking of how can the situation benefit us to grow. And I thought, well, if Mascot, if we're on their dime and they're paying for the recording studio, is it better for us to get 10 songs? Is it better for us to get 20? If we can get 20, then we are sitting on another record. So
Yeah.
we had the budget to do one record, and for the budget that we had, we did 2 records,
Yeah.
which I would advise anybody to do if you can do it.
Right. You're doubling up on it.
And we did have a couple songs that didn't make the record. We had some ideas that we're at this point. I'll bring an idea, and everybody is gracious enough, and I just don't bring stuff in that's junk. But everybody's cool enough to work through the idea, and we'll think about it. And but we can tell pretty quickly, is it going to work? And sometimes I have to argue for it a little bit and just say, hey, give this one a try.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a hard argument. It's just trying to. Sometimes I think I see a little bit behind the curtain of where the song's going to end up, or even though it's not the most perfect song for us live, I can see where it could be a great sync and make us some money. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but we had a song called "Cut You Loose" that didn't make the record, and we had a couple others that were good songs that didn't make it. So it's not like we're just throwing everything against the wall. But I'm proud of this record. I think everybody played great on this record, and it's a fun record. It's a fun record to play live. And the other thing that we're doing is, I think the longer that we play, we're making records that we enjoy playing live for the most part. So
yeah, and that shows. That shows.
And
I think for the most part, most of your music does translate really well live. And I think that's the case for pretty much everything on both Southern albums.
The things that don't is, are songs like Jackson, Mississippi, and The Ghost. And I get fans that ask for those things live, or they send a message and say, just hyperbole sweet things about if you would play Jackson, Mississippi live. Man, the reality of it is, in these venues that we are, most of the time, people are rock. They're wanting to rock, and they're raucous, and whatever.
Right.
They're wound up. It's hard to sing something with a storyline like Jacksonville or like Jackson, Mississippi, or some of these other songs, The Ghost, or Break My Fall. Those are tough songs to play, and me to sing it from the viewpoint and the intention that I had when I wrote it, when I can hear somebody talking about, gin and tonic and the babysitter or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to sell anybody short. I'd rather do it in a quiet room, or
like the Joy, I think, off Voices album, that was kind of a departure for the band, a little different. Great song, love the song, but I don't know how it necessarily fits within a typical the Cold Stairs set list.
Yeah, that's a great one, and the sets we've been writing lately really have some up and downs in them. That would definitely work. It sounds great live. We enjoy that song. I think the only ones that we have to be careful about is just ones that's just me. That's acoustic stuff.
Yeah.
But
there's usually a moment or two in a set list where you're breaking out the resonator and you're playing level 4 blues or something like that.
Sure.
And that's always good. That always works.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Southern Part 2. Let's talk about a few of the songs on there. It starts out with A Little More Rope. And, this is classic Cold Stairs opening track. It grabs your attention immediately. Really complex rhythms from Brian on the drums, just fantastic. Bryce is doubling the guitar riff on the bass, and it's you talked about everybody really came to play on these tracks, and I think this Little More Rope is certainly an example of that. From a songwriting standpoint, kind of where's that coming from? I think it kind of fits in your style, but what prompted A Little More Rope?
I think it kind of comes from the same place that songs like Price to Pay come. It's a little bit of that, going back to me growing up watching Westerns and just that kind of imagery and feeling. But I think the older that I get and the longer that I write, I like to use that and then use that to tell another story. And it's just a story about, man, I can screw this up. If I haven't yet, give me just a little bit more leeway and I can turn this upside down. And that song is just about, good intentions, but truly knowing yourself and knowing that you're just going to set fire to the bridge. So,
yeah. Great live too. Really.
Yeah, these guys kill that song live. Yeah. I enjoy just being on stage and singing that one because it's fun.
Yeah, it's super. It really is super. It looks like it's fun to play. Looks like you guys are having a good time with it.
Oh yeah. It's probably one of my favorites now. So.
Yeah, it seems pretty difficult to play live. Is that accurate? Inaccurate?
It's got a few nooks and crannies in there.
It does, yeah. But that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
I like walking on the edge sometimes. So I think anytime we get to that edge is where the fun's at.
Yeah.
It plays to our strengths. I wrote it with Brian in mind, with those breaks and stuff, and knowing what he would do feel wise. I heard Rick Nielsen say one time, Cheap Trick was the best band in the world at being Cheap Trick, And I think with us, songwriting wise, knowing that we're going to play to our strengths has been helpful writing for this record and these other ones, because I knew they would kill it on this one with these breaks. And it's also a little bit of, I will always go back to a little bit of riff wise of like AC/DC Flick of the Switch and just some of these riffs that are they're mean. We want a little bit of Old Testament in there. It doesn't need to be too nice with the story that we're selling. So
I don't think anybody accused you of that. maybe a couple of songs in what you've written, but yeah, there's a little Old Testament vibe to it. Sure.
Yeah.
Automobile's the next track, and that's just fun. I've said that I think that Chris and Bryce need to have long beards and cheap sunglasses when they play it. To me, there's definitely a little ZZ Top nod in that song. Is that off track, or you?
No, that was the intention, and that was our homage to them. As a 3-piece band, we've done some things that were a tilt of the hat to Cream and ZZ Top. You can't be a 3-piece and ignore that. And
right.
I just absolutely adore Billy Gibbons. But the other thing was that they lost a bass player right around the time that I was writing. And so I thought, man, we should really do one that's just a song for them. So yeah, we're not going to pull a Greta Van Fleet and say we never listened to ZZ Top. I've spent the majority of my listening with about a 20% ZZ Top curve in there. So
ZZ who?
Yeah.
Never heard of them. So the whole vibe of the Southern is to some degree an acknowledgement of the influence of Southern rock, but these aren't necessarily what I would label. If you had to put a label on it, I don't think I'd necessarily label Southern 1 or Southern Part 2 as Southern rock albums. Is that, agree with that, disagree with that? Bryce, what do you think?
I agree 100%. When we had the name, I get the idea behind it, but it wasn't necessarily something that screamed to me Southern rock. I think it's our buddy over in Europe, Philip, calls us Mojo rock, and I think that's an apt description. But I think it's definitely like blues rock kind of filtered through our lens. Chris and Brian are a little more Southern than I am. I'm a little more up north than they are. So I think maybe that's their perception of Southern rock, but I kind of hear it. I'd like to call it Yankee rock. Is that a thing? Or
you're out of the band. He's out of the band.
No.
You saw it. You saw it.
Well, here we go. Breaking news.
You saw it. You saw it here live. Man, to me, Hound Dog Taylor's from Texas. He doesn't ride a horse. I just got sick and tired of hearing a few artists that I won't name define what the music sounds like if you come from Kentucky or Tennessee. And Brian and I grew up here listening to hard rock and listening to, of course we listened to bluegrass. Of course I listened to the people that grew up around here and John Prine and Chris Knight and the greats. And I have a massive amount of respect for them. But man, I hate it when somebody, especially somebody that's a phony, wants to define what it is to be Southern. And the only statement with this record is, hey, we grew up eating the same stuff, and our parents told us the same stories and used the same dialogue, and we're not up on stage trying to act like we're something we're not. We're definitely Southern. When you find us in France and Germany or California, people know that we're Southern, but that doesn't mean we're up there in overalls and cowboy hats, and it doesn't mean that we're lecturing everybody on what the South is and what Southern is. So that was my whole point. I'm a fan of I'm a fan of people that stand out in their areas, and I hate it that we get classified as who we are by where we live or whatever else. So we're trying to reclaim a little bit of that Southern moniker.
Yeah. Well, well done. I think that it fits. It's through the filter of the Cold Stares, and you look at a song like "Coming Home." I think that is a different. It feels Southern to me. Okay, because I can very much relate to that song, and I'm definitely from the South, but it feels like a song for the South to me.
I would agree with that. But one thing I'll tell you is that with us touring so much and traveling so much, when we're in northern New York, northern New York feels as rural and as southern as Hopkinsville, Kentucky does. The idea of being southern, I think with us is more of a blue collar lifestyle, and some of the language and some of the the terms that we use.
Yeah.
They try to carry on traditions, but there's not a lot of songs that are city songs. Maybe that should have, that's the
Okay.
idea
Yeah.
behind it.
Right.
That's fair
I
enough.
can see
It's
that.
very relatable. We had somebody we just played somewhere up north not too long ago, and somebody was telling me how much coming home into them, and it really surprised me. Because to me it was that song particularly was a very personal song about going back, and after we came back from Europe and going back to Kentucky one day. So
yeah. And I know that on some of the albums there are definitely songs that have an autobiographical feel to them for you, Chris. Any on Southern Part 2 that kind of fit that mold?
yeah, probably so. But I want the song to be powerful and be what it is to whoever the listener is. I don't want to give too much of that stuff away. Try to keep a little bit of that in the cards. There's songs like "Sorry I Was Late," and there's other songs that are so personal that I'll address a little bit. But most of these songs, man, I tell you what, at this point, and there's the guys that's written a lot more songs than I have, but at this point with me, I've kind of covered everything that was personal on the first couple records. Now, I'm imagining myself in a situation of a story that I heard or somebody's gone through, or sometimes it's an analogy for something else that I'm dealing with. I read a lot of books and see a lot of movies where, it could be Star Wars or it could be whatever, but it's an analogy for something else. It's not
Right.
Obviously we're not in spaceships, but the story relates to people, and I try to write things that, even if it's automobile, if it's something fun, or if it's something like Ransom, I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, being in relationships, and so thankfully, it's not something that I'm usually in the middle of. It's something that's a memory, or if it's something that I have a friend that's going through something, I can tie into that.
Yeah. The next track on the album is the latest single from the album called "Evil Eye." Again, great live song, and again one that just kind of hits from the beginning, and pretty quick tune, but it packs a punch. Any thoughts behind what was behind that, or is it just be careful where you look when you're with your woman?
Man, again, it's something that I think every guy can relate to. Every person in a relationship can relate to. But when I wrote that song, I listened to "Evil" by Howlin' Wolf, and I thought, is evil going on? Not evil as biblical evil, but evil in that somebody's not doing something right. And as me as a songwriter, being a lover of blues, I don't, there's already been a Stevie Ray, there's already been a Howlin' Wolf. So we're trying to interpret our influences, but not sound exactly like those people. So with Evil Eye, it was, hey, let's take this and that from the blues references, and let's put a 70s rock spin on it, and let's put some AC/DC breaks in it, or let's mix it up a little bit. So that's a fun one, man. I love that song.
Yeah. Again, really good live song. Gosh, I think I saw you guys do that at Boca back, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something. And Ransom's one of my favorites. I think that's everybody at their best individually, and I think it works as a live song. And I know I saw you guys in St. Louis. It opened with Ransom, and that was I don't know, February of 24 or something.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
So you really do work these songs up and get them out and try them out live. Is that usually before or after you've recorded them?
I think that's the first song, if not the first, one of the first ones we'd written for the Southern.
Mm-hmm.
One of the templates. That's a tip of the hat to Cry of Love and some other bands that we really that have that Southern vibe to them, but don't fit that stereotypical mold.
Yeah.
I love that song too. That's a fun one to do and an easy one to understand.
Yeah, great bass line from Bryce on that one.
Thanks.
And I think one of your best solos, Chris. I think it's
thank you, man.
Really is good. A couple other songs, Neighborhood, not to be confused with the TV show The Neighborhood with Cedric the Entertainer and that girl, that two broke girl that's not Kat Dennings. Not to be confused with that at all. This is not the theme song for that TV show, thankfully.
Not yet.
But a great groove on this song. And I think Mighty High kind of has that same kind of groove to it, kind of like Take This Body From Me has a great groove. In the Nighttime, Stick 'Em Up. There's a kind of a genre within the Cold Stares of songs that really just groove, and I think those two do really well. How do those translate live, or how often have you done those live?
We hadn't done either one of them really live yet. We hadn't had an opportunity to work them up yet. And some of that is waiting to see when the album comes out, what catches fire and what people want to hear.
Yeah.
And we kind of went back and forth on Neighborhood when we went in the studio, whether we should cut it. And I was adamant that we did. One thing that I've noticed being on the mic and in the front sometimes is you get a bunch of people bobbing their heads and dancing, and then a song like Little More Rope, where we've got these breaks, it kind of puts a period at the end of the sentence sometimes, and it changes the groove. And I had watched when we started playing Nighttime, and it just grooves all the way through.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Los Lobos, and I like a lot of the stuff that they do that just kind of grooves like that. So The Neighborhood was one that I thought, first of all, it would be a great placement for TV or movies, but I also thought it's just a good one that grooves all the way through. I think it's got a little bit of a Little Feat vibe, and just some more of that.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yes,
that is very good. I like that.
And Mighty High was it's just typical Cold Stares. That's just Brian grooving on that. But I do like, we probably will play that one sooner or later. I really like that one. Lyrically, I wrote that from a really positive place. And and I like that it's a little nod of the hat to the Black Crowes in the chorus. So.
Really. Well, from first song to last, there's not a clunker in there, and a lot of times you'll see where a band they may record a whole bunch of songs and then release one album and then kind of, okay, here's the here's the fruitcake of what we've got, scrape everything in the next album and here you go. But that is far from the case here.
Thank you.
And I think that is just extremely rare. I mean, even you look at a double album, when bands would release double albums. A lot of times, there were some, you could tell this is a dud, this is fill in, we needed a couple more tracks to make this work. And I think with few exceptions, double albums kind of hit there. But this, if you want to, if you ever wanted to repackage it as a double album, you could, and then everything would just be killer.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So live, Brian, any favorites off this album or the last two? Let's just open it up to the whole Southern era for the Cold Stares. What are What are some of your favorites to play live?
Confessions,
Yeah.
a blast to play. I've always liked playing level floor and nighttime. Get a chance to bring out the brushes. But I really enjoy playing them all. But specifically off the Southern, I would say Confession is a highlight. That's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's an awesome song. Love that song. And great. You know, I've overused the word great. So let me just spectacular drum
Nice.
track. Spectacular.
Oh, well,
drum
thank
track.
you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bryce, how about you? Southern albums. What's some
Um,
favorites?
You know, I mean, Confession, 11th Floor, great. 11th Floor, I get to play a little bit of keys, so that's always fun. But we were playing a song off the first album, Giving It Up, which is really fun. It's a tough song to play, but when you get it right, it's great. And same with Automobile, it's kind of in the same vein. And, you know, it's a lot of busy bass work, so I guess that's mainly why I like it. But, you know, on the flip side of that, A Little More Rope is just a fun rocker. It's not necessarily a challenging bass line, but it's always fun to play. And yeah, I think those are definitely the highlights for me.
Yeah. So Chris, overall, when you hear from fans, and you said that, you know, sometimes they'll ask you, hey, can you play Jackson, Mississippi, or can you play Ghost? What are some of the songs that you hear requested most often?
You know, that's one of the blessings and a little reaffirmment on my songwriting is it's kind of all over the place, which means a lot to me, because sometimes somebody will request something that hasn't been maybe as popular as some of the other songs, but really meant a lot to me whenever I wrote it. So that's Jackson, Mississippi is one of those. Angeline was one of those people ask for every now and then. Invariably, people ask for Jesus Brother James. I mean, that one, you know, gets asked a lot. Into Black gets asked a lot. We weren't playing that prior to Bryce getting in that much, and we slay it with Bryce. So that one gets asked for a lot. But it's, you can kind of, when I try to let everybody know what song we're playing next, as much as I can without being annoying, because that's an easy way for me to judge, because there's a lot of times you can just tell when you mention a song, everybody who came there to hear that song is excited. Two Keys in a Good Book all gets yelled a lot from the audience, and I love it when we're in between songs and about to pick the next song, and somebody will yell JVJ or Two Keys in a Good Book. And we know it. We've been rehearsed on it. Man, it's nice to launch into it, because I'm a people pleaser in that aspect. It's like, you paid money to come see us. You just yelled for a song, and 2 seconds later we're going to launch into it. I love doing that for our fans, man. We have the best fans in the world, and if we can. Now, having said that, we just played Kansas City the other night. We have some fans that love Ingrid Pitt there. We hadn't played that in a really long time, and we whipped it out for them because I knew, you know, they had requested it before we got there. But man, they asked for songs the other night that I was like, man, I would love to be able to tell you we could play that. We haven't rehearsed that in years, you know. So that's tough, and it's also it's really cool sometimes to see a lot of other bands on YouTube covering our songs and songs that we don't play. You know, Take This Body From Me is one of those. You know, there's a few of the songs we don't really play a lot, and I'll go out and I'll see somebody covering it. I'm like, I forgot how good that was. That's great. Maybe we should play that.
Sweet Lady, you guys know them, and they play Into Black. I saw them actually Saturday night, and that was part of their set list. So
Awesome.
So Brian, are there songs from you know a little further back in the band's recorded history that you would think, I wish we would play that? again or more often or something like that?
Yeah, probably so. I like the whole catalog, and I'm not just saying that, but we had a song called Heart of Gold that I always enjoyed playing that one. You mentioned Stick 'em Up, love that one.
Yeah.
That was fun to play. So we had a song off the first record called "Release You," and we've never done it live. At least not in that style. It had a different tempo and a different groove before, and we played it live. But I really like that song too. So that one would be on my list. Also, "Caught in the Weather." We used to play that one
Yeah.
a lot. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Great
I really
groove.
like
Yeah.
that one. And also, "Friend of Mine." I love that song.
Mhm.
We've never done that live, and um, I don't know that we could. It's got a lot of percussion stuff going on, but definitely one of my favorite songs
Yeah.
in the catalog as well.
Yeah. Very cool. Bryce, how about you? I mean, some stuff that even before you were in the band, anything that you
Yeah.
would think, yeah, that'd be fun to play live.
There's one song in particular. In fact, I played it at Soundcheck the other day. Kings. It was off
Yes.
Headbent. I
Great
know
song.
they played it. I mean, every time I saw them years ago, they played it. So I know they're sick of playing it. But I've always wanted to play. That's probably one of my favorite tunes. Red Letter Blues off the first album I love. We got to play that last year. It was in the set for a little bit.
Yeah.
That was always fun. But I'm up for everything, man. So Stick 'em Up would be great. Stuff for Me would be cool, but you know,
Yeah.
it's whatever. You just tell me what to play and I'll play it. So it's cool.
Yeah. It always seems like you're touching at least a song or two off of every album, Chris, when you do the set list. Is that intentional?
Yeah, we try. We try to at least. Kind of as much as we've been out the last couple of years, you kind of get a pulse on what people want to hear, and then we try to throw something in there that's either new or that maybe we don't play as often. But I think kind of the mindset of the band from the start is, Brian and I we wanted to be in our favorite band. We wanted to play songs that we enjoyed playing.
Right.
And I think if we enjoy it, then the crowd's going to enjoy it too. And Bryce has just added to that. We just don't play songs that fans could yell out for something. I don't know what it would be in the catalog that we're not gelling on, and we're not going to play it because we're not gelling on it. But there's not a whole lot I can think of that would do that. But yeah, man, try to cover a little bit of everything. And also because we've been talking about this a little bit lately, that the sets become a little bit more like a movie with chapters. It's not, there's multiple things. It's not all head bent and it's not all, level floor. It takes you through a little bit of a ride. And I love that about bands from the 70s like Zeppelin and Queen and, even Aerosmith, where you have a little bit of change of pace every now and then. So
right. Yeah.
It's a luxury to be able to pull from this many records,
Yeah. So the new album's out June 6th, Southern Part 2. And then already have how many songs did you record down in Austin?
The next album that follows this one will have 10, and I think that's kind of the template going forward is 2 records a year, 10 songs each. And we hadn't got a title for that record yet. Some of the song titles will probably change as well, but I had a sound in my head. We had kind of 2 options sound wise. One was a little bit more West Coast and one was a little bit more Southwest, and we went Southwest with this one. And, I'm excited about it. I hate to get too excited about the record that follows the one that we're going to put out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I'm really excited about this one too. But I'm just excited about the growth and how quickly and easily it is for me to have an idea for a song in my head and it to be something that we're playing literally, in 2 tries through where it's come to life. It's, as a creator, that's an amazing thing to do. So
yeah. Well, it's been a lot of fun watching you guys progress, and thrilled for each of you and for the success that the band's enjoying, the acclaim that the albums that you created is receiving, and it's just a real honor to have you guys on the show, and it's a blessing to consider you friends as well. So I'm very, very happy for you guys and what all you have going on.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kevin. That means a lot, buddy.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Now, you guys know Jason Johannes over at All Things Blues and Southern Rock. He and I, when Southern Part 1 came out, he and I had him on. We did a show together where we talked through each of the songs, and I think that he started texting Chris while we were doing the show, and Chris was like, "What in the world are you doing?" And, so we're going to do that again after this album comes out. The Southern Part 2 comes out, and texting last night, I said, "I got an idea. You put together a set list for the Cold Stairs, and I'll put one together for them, and I'll send it to the guys anonymously, and they can tell which one's the best." So we're going to do 20 songs plus a 3-song encore in the set list. So I'll
awesome.
We'll probably have that done in a few days, and I'll email you guys, and you can tell us which one's the best.
Love it,
and we'll have some fun with it. All right, well, guys, awesome. I've taken up a lot of your time. I really do appreciate it, and I can't thank you enough. And very excited for this next album and what all it means to you. Tour dates coming up. I think you're in Germany when the album releases, right?
Yeah, we're in Europe most of June, touring and promoting the record, and then we're back in July, and we've got a massive amount of dates in the States and festivals and shows, and we don't plan on slowing down. So we're in your neck of the woods, wherever you are, somewhere soon. But we have Germany, France, Belgium, Holland, and the UK coming up in June.
Yeah.
So
awesome. And anyone can find tour dates where?
coldstairs.com. Just hit the show tab, and you'll find us there. And in social media, as always, just /Cold Stairs.
Yeah. And you have your own Instagram handle as well, Chris. What is that?
Yeah, it's just Chris Tapp. I just did that one. I think it's Chris Tapp Official. I did that one for the Green record that I got coming out later on this year.
Yeah. We'll talk about that one again as we get closer to it as well. Sure. Brian, where can folks find you on social media?
I'm on Facebook with just my name, Brian Mullins, and then Brian M86 on Instagram.
Bryce, how about you?
Yeah, same with Brian. Bryce Clee on Facebook. I can't remember my Instagram handle. It's BEK something. BEK41. Yeah, it's got bass in there. I don't know. Type my name in, it'll probably pop up. I don't have anything interesting to say on there, so it's fine.
He's got a Fender endorsement and a nice Fender bass, and we need to get him promoted.
Yeah, I need to set my game up.
It's BEK_41 bass.
See, there we go.
There you go.
I was close.
Yeah. I think there's a BEK in there. Yeah, you're right. There is. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Thank you all so much. And we'll look forward to seeing you live, hearing the album when it is released, and seeing what all you got next. Always something great coming from the Cold Stairs.
Thank you very much,
Thanks for having us, Kevin.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I had a great time with these guys. I always do. Really excited about this new album, the tours that they've got planned ahead, and the work that they're already doing on the next album. They've got a lot of that recorded already. And if you can catch them live, you'll probably hear a couple, 3 songs that haven't even been released yet. That's something else to look forward to. Another great reason to go catch them live. So until next time, remember, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on your favorite podcast platforms, hook up with us on our Facebook page and our Facebook group. Love to interact with you and hear what you've got to say about whiskey and music. Until next time, thanks a lot. Have a good day.